Welcome, my name is Tashara and this is StarMade. And today we're going to continue working on the ship, but not on the interior. I've done that the last couple of episodes, but we're going to let that rest for now, because I want to focus on one of the main exterior features that isn't done yet. And to be more specific, this big turret at the front. Yeah, I tried a couple of different designs already. Did some wireframing for some of the concepts I come up with, but nothing really worked out the way I wanted it. So I just forced myself to sit down and get stuff done. So we're going to focus on this turret, but we're also going to focus on these smaller turrets I have on the ship. Not the AMS, but these turrets over here, because they are not originally designed for this ship. They do fit somewhat, but I want to design a new smaller turret for specifically this ship, make it a bit more unique and a bit more beefed up, that it has a bit more firepower than it has now. But yeah, like I said, we're going to work on that after we're done with the bigger turret at the front. So the first thing I did for this bigger front turret is removed everything I had before and started basically from scratch with the main bit of the turret that turns left to right. And I come up with this design. It's a bit more greebled at the top, so more of a sort of like clockwork kind of pattern that it's could rotate in different positions. And then I made this middle bit, so I've got two spots for barrels on either side, because I do want a dual barreled turret on this part of the ship. And I think this gives us the most space to work with, because we've got plenty of space from this angle, if you look at it, to go to the front. And we are still able to move left and right without the barrels hitting the part of the main ship. Because that's one of the main tips I want to give people when they design turrets. You have to take the turn axis into in consideration when you design your turret, specifically when you design a turret for a specific ship. So this main turret will not be able to fire backwards. So I want to prevent that. And I did that with, if you see it here, oh yeah, here it is. As you can see here, I've got this block in the middle over here, and it will move within this this area, and then it will hit the main base of the turret over here, so it will not be able to turn further than that. So that will allow it to point either 90 degrees to the left or the right of the ship, but not further than that. And for the rest, yeah, you can do whatever you want with the turret, whatever fits your needs. There's no specific, this is the best turret possible within StarMade. There's so many concepts and so many combinations you can create. It's all up to you, basically. The next part I'm working on are the two barrels I talked about. And the concept I'm going with is a sort of shotgun style type of a barrel. So the dark gray is the main barrel where the weapon fires from. Then we've got this gray outer armor layer that holds it in its grip, basically. That will connect it to the frame that will rotate on the main part of the turret. So I added these around bits over here that will rotate the barrels itself. You can see the core of the barrel over here, and then on the other end we've got the docking rail itself, and this will allow it to rotate up and down. And then we can add the constraints in the middle over here within the main body of the turret, so it will not be able to move all the way up because it will hit the main ship, and we don't want that. So yeah, I think I can go with this design. I quite like this a bit more than I the design I had before with the wireframe. What's very important as well while you're building a turret, always test it. So here I'm testing the rotating of the turret. I changed it up a bit as well. The actual barrels are a bit thicker now, and I've put in this strip of light where the weapon fire is coming from, and it's going to be a beam turret because the main weapons on the wingy bits are beams as well, so I wanted this main turret to be beam as well. And at the moment I think that beam weapons are probably the most powerful weapons within the game, but that can always change of course in the future. It's still a bit in flux, and I don't really know anymore what the best weapons are. So I'm just sticking with beam and then call it a day for now. We can always change it later. But I am thinking of perhaps moving these barrels a bit closer to the main body, so they're not that far apart. And I still need to think of a way to connect them better to the main rotating bits of the main body. I just moved them one block closer to the main body, and I think it makes all the world of difference. It's a bit more compact this way and a bit closer to the actual vision I have for this turret. I also tried filling in the back part over here, make it follow the shape of the round bit over here, and I'm probably going to add some, not sure, detailing on top to make it a bit more connected. And now that I'm looking at it from the sides, it probably needs something on the lower part of the barrel as well over here. I'm not sure what yet, but some doodads or perhaps an additional weapon, not sure. We'll experiment with that for a bit. A bit more detailing for the barrels, and like I said, I added some doodads on the lower part of the barrel here. These bigger ones are basically the same as I have on the back of the wing bits of the main ship. They're over here, these two. But when I look at it from a distance, it's a bit too detailed. At least it draws too much attention, I think, to the main barrel at the front, and doesn't really blend in with the overall structure of the turret. So I'm not quite happy with it. I did add some brown piping to it. I did like that. Gives a bit more color. And yeah, the overall shape is, I think, done. Did some additional detailing with different colors of gray. So that worked out quite well, I think. So the overall shape I'm happy with, but not the lower part of the barrel. This is my second attempt to adding something to the lower part of the barrel. I quite like this a bit more than the previous white doodads I had. So the plan is to add some missiles to this, as you can see. So this will be a dual weapon turret. It's got the beams at the front, then the missiles at the low part of the turret itself. And I think it quite nicely connects everything together like this. So I'm going to stick with this for now. We still have to test it out a bit, how the turret actually works with the firing, etc. But that's for later, because I want to concentrate on these smaller turrets for now. I said I wouldn't do anything with the interior this episode, but there's one thing I did change. I removed all the crew quarters that were in here. Those were just the mock-ups of what I wanted to do with the crew quarters. But that needs the space if I want to continue this particular floor. So I saved them on those different blueprints, so I can always bring them back when I need them. And I just marked out the area where I want to concentrate next on the interior. That's the engineering section, because that will be a fixed point as well. This will probably be a window looking into the engine room. So yeah, that's the only thing I changed in the interior for now. The first thing I did is, of course, removed the old smaller turret and then started from scratch with a base for the turret itself. And I always make sure to add at least some basic system to the base of the turret. So this is a level 1 power plant and some thrusters, so you can move the turret around when you place it on the ship, or if you need to replace it, etc, etc. And of course it does need some mass blocks, so you know at least that you can move the barrels of your turret as fast as possible, because that will help trucking enormously. So you need enough space within your base of the turret to have these systems, in my opinion. The basis of these smaller turrets is heavily inspired by the bigger turret I built earlier at the front of the ship. So this is basically a smaller version of that, but with quite a bit of a difference in the final detailing, of course, because of the size. It's a lot beefier than the turrets I had before, these ones. But I think they quite fit well in this overall ship design. It makes it look a bit more formidable, a bit more like it can fend off some pirates or other ship that doesn't have the best interest of this trading ship too hard. So yeah, I placed the barrels first. I will make the turret body second, so that's the reverse of what I did with the bigger turret. But I did calculate where the docking point needed to be, so that there's at least one block between the base plate that I marked over here and the turning bit of the turret barrels themselves. And one other thing I needed to take into account that the barrels of this turret are not too long, mainly because of one spot, that's this one down below the ship. Because if these barrels are too long, then it's going to run into problems when the ships are docking in the main docking hangar, and I don't want that. So yeah, same length approximately as the smaller turrets, but a lot higher, a lot more space for weapons, so quite a bit more powerful as far as turrets go. I added the frame around the barrels, connecting it to the main body. But I ran in a bit of a snag. I quite like the shape I've got going here, but it's not centered. So yeah, I've got 2 blocks on this end and no blocks on this end, connecting it to the main rotating plate. So yeah, I think I need to move it 1 block to the left. And that's what I did. 1 block to the left, now it's nice and centered. Added a couple of other details to the main body and the barrels, and I call this thing done. Yeah, I quite like it. The only thing left to do is remove all the other old turrets and then replace them with the new turret I designed over here and see how that looks. Yeah, I quite like this. A lot beefier in terms of weapons for this ship now. And if you look at it from the front, then you can see how much firepower is aimed right at you when you approach this ship from the front. So I've got the main turrets down below, and then these smaller turrets that pack quite a punch, I think, from the side. So 3 on this end and 3 on the other side, and then of course 1 below. So that's 7 plus the bigger turret, and of course the main weapons of the ship themselves. Yeah, in terms of weapon layout, the version I've got here, that's cannon weapon blocks that are inside the barrels. But I did a bit of testing with that. I don't have any footage of that, but yeah, cannon barrels can't even hit the broadside of a barn. I mean, they're so inaccurate. I should have stuck with my own advice and just went with beam instead. So I'm going to replace all the weapon modules in these smaller turrets with beam as well, and just call it a day for now, because yeah, only the AMS is probably needed to have the cannon block in it, but yeah, it's got a drawback that it isn't really accurate. It moves your barrel, so you got a lot of feedback when you fire it. And the range is exactly the same as beam, as far as I can see it. I'm not sure if that's accurate, but that's what I saw at first glance. That's the same distance in the description. You can't see it from the outside, of course, but I did replace the weapon module. So if you go inside, you can take a real quick look. You see that there are now beam weapons within the barrels of this turret. But there's one other visual change I did made, and that's for the bigger turret over here. As you can see here, I reduced the underside bit of the main barrels over here to only have one of these things centered for the missiles, mainly because I had my doubts about the other design. It doesn't really working for me after some time thinking about it, and this turret over here was hitting those parts all the time, so that shouldn't happen now, I believe, unless I'm really unlucky and this thing moves down and this thing at the back moves or at least fires straight forward. But I think we can avoid that most of the time. So I think I'm done with replacing these two types of turrets. I still need to think about the AMS system, because at the moment it's a bit of a mess. It works, but doesn't really work. Well, I need some more testing for it. But we can test out these turrets I replaced here and show you how they look when they fire. But to do that, we need our interface back, and specifically a map, because we're going to look for a pirate station somewhere. Let's go a sector above, do a scan. I've got a couple of stations over here. Well, there's an undiscovered station, but let's go here, see if it's a pirate station. It's not, it's an abandoned station, so that's not going to work. We've got one over here. It's this one. Let's warp over here. Yeah, there it is. Well, finding it at pirate station crashed the game. And now the universe I played it in doesn't work anymore. Whoops. I think this is the end of the video then for now. We'll do the testing in the next episode in a separate universe, I think, because this was not working. Hope you enjoyed this episode. Until next time.